This episode of the Power Ranking Show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for football, basketball, baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and the easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games that are available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.
And that, of course, is the wonderful, sultry voice of @Marcus_Mosher, coming off of a fiery week 6. I don't know if I'd call it fiery. Actually, it was really terrible offensive football. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. We survived week 6, which was the wonky week of the NFL season where you had just upsets galore, bad quarterback play, low scoring games. I think I saw the stat today. There was 7 teams in the NFL that won on Sunday, scored 20 or fewer points.
Yeah, I wonder, passer rating is a very imperfect stat, but it'd be interesting just to see what the aggregate passer rating was amongst all quarterbacks in week 6, because I have a feeling it's really not good.
I think I saw the number today. There was only 4 quarterbacks that had a QBR, which is ESPN's kind of passer rating stat,
Right.
over 50 this week.
Yeah. So I have some thoughts on why we're seeing that. I thought if we do one of Marcus's Hate Watch Thursday Night Football post podcast, we could talk a little football theory. It's been a while since we did a little football theory and where it's headed, commonly known as NFL 2028. That's what I like to call it, where we headed. That said, we've got some power rankings to do. We're getting to it a little bit later than normal, so let's get right to it. We'll start with our cruddy teams. Marcus built us a board. I always enjoy seeing the various graphics that he uses when he can't find the one he wants. It looks like the Giants are extra patriotic there at 29. Is that a red stripe they've got going? Yeah,
that's the kind of the helmets they wore on Sunday night.
Yeah, pretty neato. Okay, kind of. All right, so number 32, I've got the Carolina Panthers. They actually got out to a 14-0 lead on Miami, like in the first quarter, and then their secondary fell apart, it looked like, in that game. Marcus, I still think they're the worst team in the league. The Broncos, almost ditto there. For a second, it was a one-score game against Kansas City, and Marcus is trying to sell me that, hey, the Broncos still have a chance. Like, no. Not really. And then the Bears at 30.
They did.
Justin Fields getting hurt in the game against the Vikings, the game Chicago could have won. Any issues here? Any things you've noticed about what I think are the 3 worst teams in the league?
No, what's nice is I'm not going to have to change this graphic very often over the next month. So I appreciate you just leaving those 3 teams there.
Yeah, no problem. Giants at 29, man, had every chance to win the game. I'm not saying they deserved to win. It was a really interesting game with Brian Daboll and, of course, Tyrod Taylor's history in Buffalo. And I got to give a lot of props to the Giants defense here. They played the best game they played all season for sure, and they kept that team in the game.
Yeah, he did. I wonder how much longer they're going to stick with Tyrod Taylor. It's not like the offense was great with Tyrod, but it did seem like it moved a little bit better. There wasn't so many negative plays. I don't know. The Giants are in a weird spot right now because they've got a quarterback whose contract doesn't really kick in till next year, but there's just no way you can go back to Daniel Jones in 2024.
Yeah, and I love the running plays the Giants ran with the trap plays and the wham blocks where the tackle pulls and then comes down and hits the lineman in the hole or the linebacker in the hole, and just straight up old school running plays. And they kept hitting that well again and again. It was fun to watch. New England, not fun to watch at all at 28. I don't even know what to say about them right now. Mac Jones taken out of the game, then put back in the game. And similarly, or in terms of poor quarterback play, I'm really rooting for Josh Dobbs, but I watched, unfortunately, just about every play of this Rams game. I quit. I gave up with about 5 plays to go. And the most significant thing in the game happened with 2 plays to go when the Rams lost their stud running back to injury. But Josh Dobbs, they've got to get better quarterback play. And then you look at Tennessee, it's the same thing. And now Ryan Tannehill is going on IR. So 3 teams in a row here with different kinds of quarterback problems, but quarterback problems nonetheless.
We should also mention Green Bay at number 25, who also has a quarterback problem right now with Jordan Love not playing well. I got a question for you. If our friends at Bet Online gave you 10-1 odds that one of these 8 teams was going to make the playoffs, you get the whole field here, would you take it?
Well, hypothetically speaking, if Bet Online was a sponsor and they did odds like that, and I'm just spitballing here. No, I
10-1, the entire field. All you need is one of these teams to get on a run and make the playoffs.
Oh, cookies and cream. I mean, who's got the best chance? I honestly probably Green Bay for me.
Just because the NFC doesn't have a lot of depth.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think I'd pass. I don't trust any of these teams enough.
Oh, I didn't know I had the option of walking.
Yeah, I'm saying you have it's 10-1 on Bet Online. Are you betting on it?
That's always great when your co-host asks a question, right? And you think, well, he wants to elicit an interesting answer, so you try to give it. He goes, "You could have just passed."
Well, that's what I said. I asked you the question: would you bet on it if it's 10-1 and you get all these teams to make the playoffs?
Troy, yeah, Joe, who do you think is going to win this game? I'm going to pass on that.
I can see Troy saying that though, so
Yeah,
that's probably a good example. Let's go to the next group of teams.
You bet. All right, so I've got Minnesota at 24. They looked pretty poor against Chicago. Everything's a struggle for this team right now. Justin Fields left that game pretty early, I think. Marcus, was it second quarter that he got hurt in that game somewhere?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember now. The weekend's a little bit of a blur with me. I'm not gonna lie, but everything's a struggle. Justin Jefferson's been hurt. I don't really trust this team to rebound, and I've got the Raiders right ahead of them at 23. And the Falcons at 22. And with all three of these teams, the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Falcons, I talk about trust because I don't think any one of these teams can string together enough consistent performances to make the playoffs, even in a year where it seems like we don't have very good teams. The Raiders offense can't get out of its own way. And with Atlanta, I know you pointed out some coaching this past weekend, but at this point, I can't see any one of these three teams making a run.
No, the Raiders haven't scored more than 19 points on offense in any game this year. And now they could be on their third different starting quarterback in week 7. By the way, we're going to probably get Tyson Bagent and Aiden O'Connell next week against one another. What a fun week 7 game, Elliot.
Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing Aiden O'Connell play a little bit. I enjoyed watching him in the preseason. I think it was against the Rams. Desmond Ridder, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Atlanta, but I just don't trust that they're going to emerge from, even in a very weak division. I thought early in the year they might be the team, but they needed to win that game Sunday against the Commanders, hands down, who, by the way, are team number 21 on the right.
I'm going to read you some of the quarterbacks that are on this list from numbers 23 to 20. You could potentially have this week: Aiden O'Connell, Tyson Bagent, I believe is how you say his name, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and Gardner Minshew. We just do not have good quarterback play in the middle of the NFL at all right now.
Living in rough times. Washington, 1 week they look, really, really good. The next week they look horrible. Then they get a little middling win here at Atlanta. It's tough to know what to make of that team. And for all the talk about their defensive front, I still need to see more consistency from Washington defensively, really to move them higher. It's not all about Sam Howell. You mentioned Gardner Minshew. Anthony Richardson, the reports out that he was out for the year, that he's going to require shoulder surgery. That's always hard for me to say. On that note, though, I do think Gardner Minshew's had some nice moments. And I want to point out that in terms of quarterback injuries, my team at number 19, the Rams, I think there are a lot of people that are wondering if Matt Stafford was done with the elbow injury, the way things went last year. If you haven't had a chance to watch the Rams this year, I'm not saying they're a super exciting team, but by and large, Matt Stafford is playing at a pretty good level, and he still has good arm strength. He always had kind of one of those rubber band arms. I always thought he was one of the top 5 quarterback talents in the NFL. I don't think he's done. I think he's got some left in the tank.
I think Puka Nacua might have saved his career a little bit. Now he's got not just Cooper Kupp that he can trust, but he's also got Nacua. And Tutu Atwell started to make a little bit of plays. Like last year, it was Cooper Kupp, and that was the only guy that he could trust. Now he actually has other weapons on this offense.
Losing Williams from the tailback spot,
I
man, that
know.
hurts. He ran for what was that, 158 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He was running hard in that game. They really had the run game going. We will see what happens with the Rams offense with basically their third running back in there. At Tampa Bay, we need to see what's going to happen with their offense. They're my number 18 team. And ditto the Saints at 17. The Saints really struggled down in Houston. They lost a game to what's now a pesky Texans team. Where's the Bucks? They rolled out the creamsicle uniforms. They had the logo helmet in the middle of the field, which looked stellar. The team was tweeting it out. Everybody was excited about the Bucks, and they kind of laid an egg offensively against Detroit. Tampa, New Orleans. I have New Orleans over Tampa here, even though Tampa beat them because they were so bad against Detroit.
Of these 8 teams, which offense do you trust the most in a big game?
I'm going to go the Rams because of the quarterback play, because Nakua's emergence, because Cooper Kupp's one of the best players in the NFL. The Rams' offensive line is a concern.
It's
But
big
I
issue.
think quarterback play is a big one. And I think Baker, by and large, has played well this year. And I still think Derek Carr can play, but I would rather have Stafford than any of them.
I don't disagree. I think the offense is at least going to keep them competitive in most games. They're going to go up against some teams that are just going to overwhelm them talent-wise on both sides of the ball. But Stafford, healthy, playing well. So I don't disagree. Let's get
Not to
to your
mention, look at the head coaches here, too. You're talking about the offensive side of the ball. Give me the Rams. Go ahead.
next group of teams.
Well, Pittsburgh at 16, which I feel like I should just put Pittsburgh at 16, and this will just be like season tickets for them. And every week, I'll just rank 1 through 15 and 17 through 32 and call it a day, because this is where Pittsburgh belongs every week. They're coming off of a bye. I was telling Marcus on the phone they are a veteran team. They have some older players. A bye at this part of the season is not such a bad thing. It's not like the Steelers were on some great run of great football and you didn't want to have a bye. That might have been, by the way, what happened to Tampa. I should add, Marcus, starting 3-1, having that bye, coming out flat. Cincinnati at 15, a lot of problems on offense for them, but they got out of it a little bit against Seattle. But I was following your Twitter during the game. You were not as pro Bengals. So what do you think about them at 15?
I think the Bengals believe that once Joe Burrow is 100% healthy coming out of this bye, that everything is going to be fine. I just couldn't disagree with this more. They look so slow on offense. They can't run the ball at all. They are by far the team that has the fewest big plays after 6 games. And there's some teams that only played 5 games that have 10 more big plays than they do. Their next 2 games are at San Francisco, at Buffalo. I think this could get ugly for Cincinnati really quickly, unless that offense just gets a whole lot better.
I think the most interesting section of the rankings might be here 11 through 14. You have 4 teams that I think are potential playoff teams. And obviously there's 14 playoff teams, but they're all in the AFC here. In fact, I've got to run this entire, this entire board.
I was just about to ask you that. All 8 of these teams are in the AFC.
So I've got the Jets at 14, the Chargers at 13, the Texans at 12, the Browns at 11. Let's just start with those. The Jets got a big win against Philadelphia. The Jets can beat anybody if they just get adequate quarterback play. They've got the running backs. They've got the defense. I'm still a little bit on the fence about Robert Saleh. I need more time. But you can't trust Zach Wilson. And, we looked at the Chargers last night. You can't really trust that Charger offense right now either.
So you've got the Jets at 14 and the Browns at 11. It's funny that both of those teams got home wins as big underdogs. But from those 2 teams, they both play, a defensive brand of football. Which defensive unit do you trust more to be able to do this on a consistent basis?
Wow. As much as I like the Jets personnel, I'm going to go Cleveland with the Jim Schwartz hire. And I like the idea of Cleveland playing at home and that stadium, everyone's wearing brown and getting loud. And they've got sometimes they've got kind of a weather conditions going on. And when that all happens, I just think, and sometimes that it just seems like it's slick out there. I'm going to go with the Browns on that. But I wonder if the best team out of this group of 4 isn't the number 12 Houston Texans.
I mean, They've got the quarterback that's probably playing the best outside of your number 9 team.
Yeah. And, if their defense can just play middling football and your quarterback continues to progress and you've got a young head coach that the team's clearly playing hard for, and you're in a weak division and the NFC teams you're playing this year, the NFC South, you've got a chance. They just beat an NFC South team. They really needed that win against Atlanta, though. Marcus, a week and a half ago. By the way, to round out this board, you got the Jags at 10, the Ravens at 9. I think both of these teams could be one and done in the playoffs, or maybe they win one game, but I don't see them as threats.
I mean, there's also just a chance that they play each other in like that, 3-6 matchup, which you would absolutely hate, which I am never rooting for at this point.
That you can only exclusively watch on the LinkedIn app. Yeah, something the NFL would do. Yeah, watch the
By the
Jags.
way, we love LinkedIn. It's the best way to hire people. Let's go to your next list.
Nice win for the Jags, though. We got a division win. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Top 8. Love the Seahawks graphic. Love the helmet. What do you think? Do you like the Seahawks current look, or you like this look?
I like the older look. I like the one that we have on the screen here.
Yeah, they're at number 8. I'm kind of deferring to Marcus here on Seattle. I want to get your thoughts on them in just a second, just to kind of give you the first couple of teams here. Seattle at 8, and then I've got this really tough group. Buffalo at 7, Detroit at 6, Dallas at 5. I would take them over Seattle right now, but let's just start with the Seahawks real quick. You watched that game very, very closely against the Bengals. You wrote about it for the 33rd team. Mm-hmm. You said it was an awkward game. Why do you trust them more than the Jags or the Ravens or the Browns or even the Texans?
It was just one of those games where I think the Seahawks had 6 red zone attempts and they scored 7 total points. A lot of miscues, a lot of dumb penalties. They were playing on the road, a 1:00 game, which we know that's historically really hard for a West Coast team.
Mm-hmm.
I just, there's something about this team I really like. They can throw the ball. They can really run it. I like the pass rush better than I have in previous years. I'm not giving up on them after playing an uncommon opponent on the road in a weird time slot.
I will say this to kind of go against my own rankings here. They've beaten Detroit in Detroit 2 years in a row now, and I do have Detroit higher. But I feel like Detroit's playing as consistent a football as anyone in the NFL right now. And you could make the argument the Lions belong over the Cowboys. I wrestled with this one. So we've got Buffalo at 7, Detroit at 6, Dallas at 5. I just think, look, if you want to swap Detroit and Dallas, that's one thing. But Buffalo is playing the worst out of these 3. Josh Allen still makes some plays that make you scratch your head. Yes, his mobility is fantastic, but they couldn't score points against a Giants team that frankly has been reeling, and they've lost their best defensive players.
And that's the thing I was going to say. If you compared Dallas, Detroit, and Buffalo, it used to be that Buffalo was the most talented of all 3 teams. That's just not the case anymore. You look at their roster after Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, who are their 3rd, 4th, and 5th best players? Like, is it Jordan Poyer, who you mentioned to me earlier? Is it Gregory Rousseau or Ed Oliver? I don't know, but you look at Detroit, they're absolutely loaded. The same with Dallas. I'll take both of those teams over Buffalo right now.
So with the Cowboys, I thought Dak Prescott played fantastic on Monday night. He did miss some plays, some reads and a couple touchdown throws potentially, but he also made some big time plays. The rollout throw to CeeDee Lamb was a dart. The spin out play to Pollard, they made a big deal of it, but he kind of unnecessarily spun. It's not like somebody had him for a sack, but I actually thought he made one of the best throws of his career on the touchdown to Brandon Cooks, where he was kind of backpedaling. If he doesn't play that way, the Cowboys don't win. And I'm saying that because I've been very hard on Dak. I will say this, though. Jared Goff is outplaying almost every quarterback in the NFL right now. And all the love that Dak got for the game last night, where is it for Jared Goff? Because Jared Goff's got 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 105 passer rating. He's completing about 70% of his passes. He did this on the road, which was our complaint about him last year. Where is everybody on him? What's going on?
I don't know. I think it's cool, though, that he's really resurrected his career.
Heck yeah.
Remember when there wasn't a debate who was the best quarterback in the 2016 class? It was Dak for like 5 years straight. Now it's Dak and Jared Goff again. 2 quarterbacks from the 2016 class playing well right now.
Right. And if you would still rank Dak over Jared Goff, I don't have a problem with that. I just,
But Goff is playing better. You can't
and
argue.
he's not getting any credit. Like last night,
No.
And Dak deserved the flowers, as they like to say on Twitter, for his play last night. I want to point out one other thing, though. The Cowboys defense rose up and made some big plays. DeMarcus Lawrence, as you said, the highest rated edge defender on PFF. Then you got Micah, who made the big play at the end of the game. I still have Philadelphia over Dallas. Really ugly game against the Jets. Let me just say this about Philly. They played awful, and they were still in position to win if Jalen Hurts doesn't make a harebrained throw there. I think they belong behind the Kansas City Chiefs still.
At some point, though, with Philly, like, I'd like to see them play well. Like, we just say this they played awful and they won. Well, they played awful and they lost a close game. Like, when are they going to play a game where it's like, oh, that's the Philadelphia Eagles that we saw last year?
Yeah, I will say, if you look at Philly at 4, Dallas at 5, Detroit at 6, Detroit's the one that's actually consistently playing the best football of those 3. Dallas has had better games in Philadelphia, but they've had worse games too. So it's been peaks and valleys for the Cowboys. The Eagles have been consistently like meh all year. So I'm with you. Kind of ditto Kansas City, although I did think they were in total control Thursday night. They're still having problems on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I've got a couple problems with Kansas City. First of all, when you have the best quarterback in the league, you should be a fun team to watch. And I don't get that from the Chiefs at all. Like, honestly, they're one of the least fun teams in the NFL right now. And I don't really understand why. And maybe it's because this offense is just not very good right now. And they're kind of more of a defensive team. But it sucks when you have the best quarterback in the league and their team is horrendous to watch.
Yeah, I think part of it for them is the way in which they're winning, but I will compliment them. Their defense has probably been one of the 5 most consistent defenses in the league this year. And that's why they're here at number 3. That still doesn't look like Taylor Swift there. Okay, I've got the Dolphins at number 2. Any problem here?
No, because I don't think you can put them above number 1, but I definitely think they're better than the Chiefs. So I'm perfectly fine with them at number 2. They've got a huge game this week. They play at Philly. I think if they can win that game, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them become the Super Bowl favorites because that offense is just absolutely insane.
I agree. They really turned it on against Carolina. And, we talk about Goff not getting enough credit. And you were saying, you've said to me where you would rank Dak. And then we know Hurts didn't play that well. And then you called Mahomes the best quarterback in the league. Hey, man, maybe Tua has elevated himself past Goff and Dak and maybe even Hurts. He's certainly getting there.
He's the MVP favorite right now on Bet Online.
Wow. Maybe it's going to be time for us to redo our top 12 quarterbacks in the league podcast. Number 1, I've got the 49ers. You talk about top 12 quarterbacks in the league. I know people are starting to put Brock Purdy in that conversation. Brock Purdy had this worst game of his career. There was bad plays by him. There were weird plays by him where the ball just literally fell out of his hand when he was rearing back to throw.
We call that the Quincy Carter.
Yep. Yeah, and the Browns defense was just absolutely fantastic. I told Marcus, so I think a sign of a good team and a sign of a good player at quarterback is when everything is going wrong, can you put it together at the end of the game to put yourself in position to win? And I have to say that the 49ers did that as bad as they were, and they just missed the kick. I don't like settling for 40-something yard field goals on grass on the road with a rookie kicker. I thought Shanahan could have got him closer.
Yeah, because it ended up being a 41-yarder, which, I mean, for the most part, it's a pretty makeable kick. But I feel like when you get to 36 yards, the odds just significantly change in your favor. So I agree. There's no reason to panic on San Francisco. They lost a road game. Again, another one of these 1:00 kickoffs on the road against a good defense. We knew they weren't going to go 17-0. That's just not happening. And if you're going to lose a game, lose one like this where you very easily could have won if the kick is 2 yards more to the left.
Yeah, and you've got a fullback that you use. You're used to dry blocking with this offensive line. I don't think the fear of a holding penalty is there as much. Give it a use check. Let them pile drive for 3 or 4 yards and make it an easier kick. That's all I'm saying. But my top 8, and then I'm going to get your final thought here, bro. Seattle at 8, Buffalo at 7, Detroit at 6. And again, you could move the Lions up, but I'm keeping the Cowboys at 5 based on that defense for sure. Number 4, Philadelphia Eagles. Kansas City, again, their defense, why they're at number 3. Miami at number 2, and I still think the 49ers are the best team in the league. That's my top 8. Your final thought?
I'm actually going to turn this around and ask you a question. I'm not asking you to pick your highest ranked team here, but after 6 games, if you had to predict who's going to be in the championship game in the AFC right now, who would you pick?
In the AFC, I think it's Miami and Kansas City. I do, because the Kansas City Chiefs just find ways to win. And I really mean that. It's not just Mahomes finding ways to win or Travis Kelce having 3 catches for 5 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's the defense. And I trust their coaching staff. And I think after some of what I saw in the league, including last night's game, coaching, I still trust Andy Reid and that staff. And then Miami is playing as well as anybody. Miami could win the Super Bowl this year. We could easily see a 49ers Dolphins Super Bowl, which would be a rematch.
That's why I want Miami to have the number 1 seed in the AFC. Be the number 1 seed in the AFC. And if you have to have Kansas City come to Miami in January, that would be a lot of fun.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, those are the rankings. We're going to do picks tomorrow, but we're going to get out of here for now. If you want more takes on last night's Cowboys-Chargers game, by all means, listen to Locked On Cowboys. I think Landon McCool was at the game.
He was.
Marcus's co-host there. Give Landon a follow. Marcus does the Dynasty podcast, also on the Locked On Network, and covers the Raiders for USA Today Raiders Wire. And check out his work at 33rd Team. It's at Marcus_Mosher. I'm at Harrison NFL on Twitter. We appreciate all you guys, and Bet Online and Believe. Thank you for sponsoring the show, Bet Online. How many times can I say that? Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.